in Phuket. People getting their boats ready, scrubbing things up, getting ready to go for their cruise for the day. And it's great to have you with us as we have a talk about things that have been happening, obviously a lot in the past 24 hours or so in regards to the Thailand Pass. So we're going to have a good talk about that and some of the details, because some of the reporting hasn't been 100% correct, and there's, as always, a lot of little nuances. So we'll have a talk about that and be honest about exactly what was discussed yesterday. Now this is where we're going, over to a cafe that I usually sit in called Dean and DeLuca, but it's a very pleasant day here down at Boat Lagoon. Good friend over there getting ready with one of his boats, just discussing which champagne they're going to take out with them. So the big topic, the sort of the elephant in the room, I suppose, is that although here in Thailand it looks like things are fairly easy now to get back into the country after July the 1st, getting rid of the Thailand Pass and some of the paperwork and stuff, it certainly does make quite a big change and make it easier to get back into the country. But I suppose the elephant in the room is that the situation around the world is also profoundly different now than it was 2 years ago. The number of flights, the places that you can fly, the frequency of those flights, and increasingly the cost of those flights. These are now, I suppose you could say, challenges, encumbrances. So the idea of budget travel, jumping on a plane, putting the backpack on, just buying minimal travel insurance, make sure you get your travel insurance, and then just heading to a place like Thailand and roaming around, just the getting here now is a bit of a problem. So that's what we're going to be focusing our discussion on today. But a very pleasant little area here for breakfast. Be nice if you could all join me here. We could have a coffee, a cup of tea, and a discussion. Well, I've got the cup of tea. I don't have the coffee. I can get a coffee here, but let's have a chat anyway. So I'm going to walk inside and we'll sit down and get stuck into today's topics. Talking my way through, they'll all think I'm completely crazy. Now outside it's very comfortable, 32, 33 degrees. Coming in here, I think it's about minus 17. I think they've had the air conditioners on all night, and it's absolutely freezing in here. And where I'm sitting, the air conditioner up on the roof is really, really cold. Anyway, time for our chat today. So I'm going to put this down and welcome everybody from wherever you are, no matter what time of the day it is. We've got plenty to talk about. So I might put that there. How does that look? But thank you all for joining us, and we've already got plenty of people online. How many have we got? Some 180 people. Wow. Great to have you with us. Just clear things up there. And as mentioned, I'm at Dean and DeLuca. They don't pay me to do the program here. I'm just very happy to come here, and happy to say Dean and DeLuca if I have to. So yes, let's go into what happened yesterday. Oh, we better a few quick hellos, assuming you can hear me okay. Morning from Lampang. We've got Mark Lin with us. My last trip there was disappointing. The price differences between Farang and Thai, says Mark. There are ways around that, and I suppose that comes from people who have been here a few times or know their way around the system. You can get around those perceived changes or differences in price. Also, the local price and the tourist price can be a situation in many other countries as well. Larry Connolly is with us. Hi Larry, good to have you with us today. Will travel become a luxury item? We'll know more in the fall, I believe. Fall, an American term for autumn, I believe. It's funny when, I mean, English is a broad and wide language, and I mean, there are quite a lot of little differences between, say, the way Americans use English and also their measurement system and the rest of the world. And working here in Thailand, you sort of have to get used to the way that all the different countries use their English. Just in our office, there are 4 or 5 different people from the UK I talk to every day, and they've all got very different accents. Most of them can't understand mine. Okay, Paul Weston is a ball of joy this morning. He says the world is headed for financial crisis. Of course, travel will be a luxury. Thanks, Paul. Maybe not quite crisis, but certainly we've got financial challenges ahead. There's no doubt about it. Fuel's getting more expensive each day, says Paul. David Benjamin, wow, a lot of indecision at the Thaiger headquarters. Not a lot of indecision, not sure what you're referring to there, but we'll be talking about the issues that were discussed yesterday at the CCSA meeting. Good morning to you, Teddy Bear. And good morning, everybody. Scott D from Chicago, great to have you with us. RS, I'm on my way on July the 5th. It looks like you're over that July the 1 hurdle. Greg Tiddy, hi Tim, nice day here in Brisbane, but can't wait to get back to Thailand. So good to have you all with us. And I've got a bit of a weather report to you, by the way. We'll do the weather report now, will we? Okay, so here in Phuket today, which is where I'm doing the program. I was in Bangkok yesterday. I flew back down to Phuket last night. Flying from Bangkok to Phuket, it takes, in the air, it's about 1 hour. But by the time gate to gate, it's usually about an hour 10, an hour 15. A very easy trip. I do it all the time. I have done it, and I'm not plugging these people. They don't pay me to. But I've been flying mostly with Vietjet, or Thai Vietjet, the Thai franchise of Vietjet. They've been all the way through the pandemic, whilst the airlines can fly routinely, was both sustainable, and I think I've had one late flight, which was around about 2.5 hours late. Very inconvenient at the time, but out of the, hundreds of flights I've done over the past 18 months, it was really just one bad occasion. So, yeah, it's been an interesting couple of years travelling in Thailand as things have slowly eased and then closed up again and then eased. One thing I noticed coming back in the plane yesterday, and after all the announcements that were made yesterday in regards to face masks and things, as oblique as some of them were, we were having to wear our face masks in the airport, and everybody in the aeroplane is reminded often, if you even pull it down off your nose, the attendants rush up to you and say, "Oh, please put your face mask back on." And there's no catering on any of the flights at the moment, so getting rid of face masks on the aeroplane and returning the catering would be a very welcome thing to see here in Thailand. Wearing the face masks on a plane for an extended flight, I think that's when you really noticed that the face masks are an issue. Just out and about around town and walking into buildings and stuff, I barely even notice. But I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy with some of the changes made yesterday. So the weather here in Phuket, a top of 31 today. I'm talking in Celsius, by the way. And intermittent showers and cloud up in Bangkok today. They're heading for a very hot 37 degrees, reminding you that as you move further north, it gets less humid, and so it does get, the top temperature can get higher, although it certainly feels when it's hot here in a place like Phuket, with a very high humidity, it can feel a lot hotter. But up in Bangkok today, 37. Showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon. In Chiang Mai, they're going for 30 today. Showers throughout the day. Currently it's 24 degrees. In Pattaya, a few clouds, intermittent showers and clouds, and heading for a top of 34 degrees. Khon Kaen, which is sort of up in the middle of the northeast region we call Isan, 36 is the top temperature there today. A few showers later in the day, but plenty of sunshine. Hua Hin, 33, a few showers possible throughout the day. So it is the wet season here in Thailand, so pretty much any time at this time of the year in different parts of the country, you can expect a little bit of rain. But I've never found the wet season, well, I mean, you will get the buckets of rain pouring down at different times, but I've never found it unpleasant or anything. I mean, apart from the fact that the rain's actually warm, it's only going to be for 10-15 minutes, quick shower. Just have a little umbrella with you, or duck into a cafe and have a coffee or a beer while you're waiting for the rain to pass. Sort of clears the air, clears things up, and off you go again. And you get a bit of cloud cover during the day this time of the year, which does keep the general temperature down just a little bit. But of course the humidity does get a bit higher this time of the year. So there's a bit of a weather report for you today. So okay, to yesterday's decisions, and the big one was that from July the 1st, the Thailand Pass is going to be, well, abandoned, cancelled, it's gone. So that's pretty much the only really firm decision that was announced yesterday. There was a lot of fluff, and we went through in great detail the translations to try and understand exactly what they were saying. So I'll try and go through what they said as well as decoding the meaning and seeing if we can sort of put some dates on all this. What's for breakfast? That question from, I can't see that. Well, actually, I didn't have breakfast here. I had breakfast at a new place, which has opened up sort of near to where I live. And that's called, it was called Hickory Phuket. Now, I have to say that the area that I live does not have a lot of great cafes. The estate that I live in is sort of on an artery road, or just off the artery road. I mean, I don't hear any road noise. But around us, there's not a lot of really good cafes. Now, you go to a place like Rawai, Chalong, they've got cafes coming out of their ears. The best cafes in Thailand you'll find down in the south of the island, in the sort of residential communities of Rawai and Chalong. Up around here where I live, not so. But Dean and DeLuca's not bad. It's a bit expensive, but it is very good and uniformly, routinely high quality. But this new place opened, and I can highly recommend them too. Again, they're not playing, oh yeah, okay, I'm getting to the topics, just trying to fill in some gaps and answer people's queries. So it's called Hickory Phuket, and they do a really good breakfast, and it's not expensive, and that's highly recommended. Just type in Hickory Phuket if you want to have a really high quality breakfast. Brand new place, probably opened 2 or 3 months ago. Okay, so Thailand Pass, gone from July the 1st. So that has been an encumbrance. The Thailand Pass has been I'm trying to find the right words for it, a digital registration pre-approval process you had to go through. So you had to upload documents, it gets approved by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it used to take up to 3 days, or sometimes people didn't get approved at all. They brought that down to either immediate or up to 3 hours. But I mean, the process of the Thailand Pass did become less annoying after it was introduced November the 1st last year. They've slowly reduced those restrictions. Omicron happened and they sort of ramped them up again. But now, from July the 1st, no more Thailand Pass. So you can jump on a plane and you can just come to Thailand. We'll talk about that jumping on the plane later, but that's the good news. So along with the Thailand Pass also goes the compulsory insurance valued at $10,000. So that was also seen as a gate, something that was stopping people from coming, that compulsory insurance, either because they found it expensive or because they just didn't want to be told that they had to have insurance. Now, as I've said before, if you are coming to Thailand, you would be well advised to get some sort of travel insurance. There's been so many cases we've reported over the years about people coming here, unfortunately, perhaps having something like a motorbike accident or getting caught up in some sort of situation where they end up in hospital. They don't have insurance and they end up with a really high bill. So travel insurance will save you that sort of problem. By the way, if you are going to get the insurance and you're going to jump on a motorbike, in Thailand you've got to make sure you have a motorbike license. Otherwise, the insurance won't cover you if you have a motorbike accident. Motorbike incident, that's a whole different story. So the compulsory insurance will also go with the Thailand Pass from the 1st of July. thermal scanners, those things where we walk in and we go beep as we walk in. That is also going to become something that private businesses will be able to retain, but across the country as a compulsory requirement, it won't be necessary. Places like airports are going to get rid of their thermal scanning. The ones at the airports are just basically look like a camera, and you walk past it and it measures your infrared radiation, and people walk past it. You don't have to put your hand up or anything. I usually smile and wave, hoping they're taking a photo of me. So they're gone. Also, of the compulsory requirement to have those is also gone. Or if you walk into a shop, maybe you'll feel less inclined to put your hand up and get it scanned. Or as some people do, they lean in with their head. So they're gone. I'm getting to the face masks in a moment, don't worry. Closing times, well, the whole country, which used to be blue, yellow and orange zones, well, recently anyway, is all going to go green. So all 76 provinces plus Bangkok will become green zones around the country. And each of those green zones will be able to apparently open up until 2 a.m. Now, some media have reported that all the green zones around the country will be able to only open until midnight, but saying everywhere around the country will be able to open, but only till midnight. But our understanding is that they said all the green zones will be open until 2 a.m. So that was some of the confusion tomorrow. Either way, anywhere around the country will be able to open until at least midnight, and those that aren't already open until 2 a.m, they probably will. You know the way it happens, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So closing times, a little bit of uncertainty there, but certainly right around the country, places will be able to open until at least midnight, and we believe it's probably going to be 2 a.m, although some media have reported that differently from others. Now, face masks, I'll give you the good news and the bad news. So as far as the face masks are concerned, they've pretty much, well, the bottom line, after you got some 15 minutes of waffling, which is very similar to my waffling, is that you won't be required to wear a face mask in public places. However, you will be encouraged to wear a face mask where there are other people around. I suppose we're talking about airports, the BTS, public transport. But to get there, he went on and around, and it was very difficult to report yesterday. So the face masks, they haven't said, face masks are gone after July the 1st. What they're basically saying is that you won't be expected to, but they'll still encourage you to wear a face mask in high traffic areas. Well, that sort of seems reasonable. So that sort of sideways look that you get at the moment, if you are in some areas and Thai people are wearing the face mask and you're a foreigner and you're not, and you're proudly showing your face and you get a few sideways looks, I think we'll see less of that in the future. As we've predicted, I think a lot of Thai people are still going to continue to wear their face mask well into the future. But I think the voluntary factor is going to be good. So that if you come here, that you won't feel that you have to wear a face mask. And a lot of people, they find them uncomfortable. Some people say they have health problems when they're wearing face masks. So that's a good situation for you, that you'll be able to come back. As I've said, myself as a foreigner who lives here, my mindset is that even after the face mask requirement is gone, I'll still keep one in my pocket, and if I'm in an area where there are a lot of Thai people, I will just pop the face mask on. I don't want to attract attention. Also, I am of that age. I'm 63. I'm sort of in that high risk category, even though I'm fit and healthy. And I suppose I just want to minimise any chances. Now, usually the face masks are seen as a thing that people who are COVID positive stops them spitting and coughing out into the air. So, okay, if I have COVID, it would minimise my chance of passing it on. But look, either way, I'm not going to make a big thing about the face masks, nor should you, from July the 1st, you should feel comfortable coming to Thailand and understanding that you won't have to wear a face mask in public, and nobody's going to vilify you for that if you choose to do so. And also the TM6 form. Now, I've got my passport here. I'll grab my passport. As a foreigner, you're always required to carry your passport with you or a copy thereof. And in the back, I've got my TM6 form. So this is the stub that's pulled off that form that you fill out, the blue and white form. It's usually about that wide. And apart from actually talking about the flight that you came in and the date that you arrived, it's also got a bit of a survey on there about your income group and a few other general questions. So they're actually saying they're going to suspend the use of the TM6. The feeling we've had around, a couple of lawyers we had in the office this week were speaking about the TM6 not just being suspended for a short term, but maybe permanently. And we'd like to think that now that we've got so much digital information about people coming into the country, and they've used the Thailand Pass for the past 8 months now, so there is a digital ecosystem now in Thailand to collect information of people coming into the country. So let's move away from the paper to some sort of digital form. Could be an app that you use. It could be something that you fill out when you arrive at the airport. But let's make it digital. Let's get rid of the TM6 forever. Don't, whatever you do, call it the Thailand Pass though. They're going to have to come up with a better name. The Thailand E-Pass. There you go, I've done the job for you, TAT. So that's about all the changes that happened yesterday that are sort of relevant anyway. And there was still a little bit of, as I mentioned, uncertainty and ambiguity about the face mask thing. But the bottom line is, after getting through all that, that the understanding is that you'll be able to wander around outside without a face mask and be able to bear your smile proudly. So that's all good. Let's move on to inflation. I acknowledge all the people that are with us today, including Hans from Pu Weang. And I'll show you who the real Puff Daddy is, says would never use a government tracking app. Well, the tracking app's long gone, so you don't have to worry about that, you strange person with the very, very long username. The Wu-Tang Life says you have to test if you're not vaccinated. Yeah, just to clarify, thank you very much, Wu-Tang Life, for reminding me. The Thailand Pass has been abolished from July the 1st. So when you arrive, you will be expected to show your vaccination documents. So please, if you're coming here, you're vaccinated, bring your vaccination documents with you. That's not a really big problem, is it? For those that are unvaccinated, you'll need to either do a PCR or ATK test before you leave for Thailand. I believe that'll probably be expected to be 72 hours before your travel date. Or if you don't want to do that, you can arrive in Thailand without a test, and they'll do a test here when you arrive. Now, the talk is that those tests might be random. My understanding is, though, if you don't have any documentation and you don't have a negative test, I'm pretty sure that they'll be wanting to test you at the airport. Again, we're waiting for the details on that, but that's the way we understand the discussions from yesterday's meeting. So we'll have to see how that all rolls out. But yeah, vaccinated people are welcome to come back to Thailand, and minimum, they'll have to have that ATK or PCR test before they come here, negative of course, or have a test under medical supervision when they arrive in Thailand. Now, it also asks the question, what's going to happen if you arrive at the airport and the check-in? The airlines may have their own requirements about vaccination certificates or negative PCR or ATK tests. So you need to find out from your airline what their requirements are to travel and use their services, no matter what they may or may not require once you get here in Thailand. So thank you very much, Wu-Tang Life. Hi, Tim from Adelaide. Thanks for the clarification on yesterday's minister's jibber-jab. Yeah, it wasn't the minister, it was Dr. Tawi Slip, I think his name is, a gentleman I've met and interviewed twice, and he's a a charming, very likeable guy, very qualified, and he's really held the fort and reported to us in English over the past 2 and a bit years exactly what's been happening with daily reports and daily case counts. He's done a very, very good job. He's described to me in detail how they've done the testing, how they collate the numbers, and I rate him. He's been a top guy, and congratulations to him for a job very, very well done keeping the information in English provided to us foreigners. So his sort of answer yesterday about face masks was a bit rambling, but as I said, the bottom line is that the government will still encourage you to wear your face mask in high traffic areas, but it won't be a requirement. Now, I should also say that the emergency decree is still in force in Thailand, and whilst that doesn't really matter on a day-to-day basis, there's nobody walking around with guns or signs saying, "It's emergency decree, make sure you behave yourself." There's none of that. The fact that Thailand is under an emergency decree has just allowed the formation of this COVID task force, which is the double CSA, to make decisions on the run and make them quickly without having to refer to Parliament all the time, which can be perhaps a bit slow or odious with the different structures of Parliament and the debates and the votes in the Senate and the lower house and all that. So I suppose it has been it's been a quick response mechanism to Thailand's coping with the COVID pandemic. And let's say, if you want to look at the number of deaths in Thailand per capita around the world, it's done very, very well. And you may complain about the lockdowns, you may complain about the face masks, but Thailand has been certainly in the top third of countries that's been able to control to a certain extent the spread of COVID and kick the can as far as they could down the road until the strains of COVID became weaker and also the treatments became a lot better. So congratulations to the Thai government, I suppose, on that side. A lot of people will say that they disagree. I get that, but at the end of the day, the numbers speak volumes about the way that this country has handled COVID-19. Okay, let's go to, I've got a few other things to talk about. Yes. Inflation Watch. So all this week on Good Morning Thailand, we've been bringing examples to you of ways that we've seen that prices have gone up. And I've noticed in the last 2 or 3 weeks quite a few things that I've suddenly gone, oh, okay, inflation is starting to spike the prices. And today's Inflation Watch, that the fares of ferry services going from Koh Samui and Koh Phangan, or going to those places, will increase from July the 1st due to the rising diesel price, noting that the Thai government has had a system where they've supported the diesel price and kept a cap on it. They kept it at 30 baht a litre for quite a long time, but they're also been allowing it to rise slowly. They've now got the diesel cap going up to 35 baht a litre, but the Thai government says the actual retail price is about 45 baht a litre for diesel at the moment. So they're still providing some stimulus on that. But the ferry that goes from Don Sak, Suratani, across to Koh Samui and to Koh Phangan, and I imagine the ferry that goes from Samui to Koh Phangan, those prices are still going up. I have to say that those fares aren't inordinate and it's not that expensive. You can fly to Samui from Bangkok if you want. That is really expensive though. Bangkok Airways have got a monopoly on that route and a very expensive way to get to Koh Samui. So a lot of people do take the ferry. It's about an hour trip. I've done it a few times, taken the car. Notably, the fares have not risen on that route for 14 years. So maybe after 14 years, if there is a spike in the price there of the ferry trips from Don Sak in Suratani over to Koh Phangan and to Koh Samui, maybe it's not that bad, but they're saying it is the diesel prices. And so, yeah, a meeting on May the 13th agreed that fares will be increased on 3 routes, including from Don Sak Pier to Koh Samui, Don Sak Pier to Koh Phangan, and Koh Samui to Koh Phangan. So there you go, that's our inflation watch for the day. Okay, let's have a talk about outbound travel. And by the way, I'm aware that there's a lot of messages here, and I'll get to those as soon as we can. Very difficult trying to keep a watch on that and read my notes and talk to you and try and sound vaguely intelligent. But yes, let's have a talk about Thai outbound travel. Then we're going to have a talk about who's coming to Thailand at the moment and the numbers. Whatever you think they're going to be, I bet you're going to be surprised. So a survey was done about Thais travelling out of Thailand, and some 50% of Thai tourists plan to take outbound trips, and that's grown by 7% from a similar survey taken a year ago. And the places they want to go are Singapore, Japan, and South Korea. So you get the idea that they're travelling sort of regionally, and they're looking at trips being shorter and more regional. So that's interesting. 18% of Thai respondents are still looking forward to domestic trips, and that's up 5% year on year. And another emerging trend from the survey is the idea of a workcation, and 70% of the people plan to work whilst travelling this summer. So even the Thais that are looking to travel probably going to take their laptop or their iPad or work remotely in some way during their trips. I think we'll see a lot more of that in the future, as there's been some sort of move away from offices generally over the past 2 years. A lot more people finding ways to work remotely and making it work for them. So I find that interesting. Now, inbound travel. Who's coming to Thailand at the moment? Good morning from Pattaya, says Kev O. Here and now. Good morning, Kev O. What's the O stand for? So, okay, from June the 1st to the 15th, so that is the first half of June, there were 348,699 foreign arrivals. Where did they come from? I know what you're saying. You're going to jump to India, aren't you? Well, you'd be wrong. The United States? No. The UK? Even the EU? No. You're not even in the top 5. So the most number of people coming to Thailand from June the 1st to the 15th were from Malaysia. And they were a good, 15% above the next highest amount of tourists coming to, travellers coming to Thailand, which is India, followed quite a long way back by Singapore, then Vietnam a long way back from that, and then the United States in 5th place. So Malaysians, some 61,000 people coming, and the United States, some 15,000. Now, there's a bit of a catch in those numbers, because since they reopened the Malaysian border, which is the land border in Thailand South, and there are some, 10 crossings down there, 2 or 3 of the main ones, but a lot of people now coming across the border, and some of those people just coming across for the day to do trade. So there is probably a chunk of those numbers of travellers coming from Malaysia into Thailand, which are just border crossings. Other people, of course, may be doing, say, border runs, but they're not just people coming from KL with a towel and a pair of shorts to wander around Pattaya for a few weeks. A lot of these will just be day traders and people just popping across the border. So maybe those numbers slightly skewed when it comes to the numbers from Malaysia. So probably, as far as real tourists are concerned, it looks like the Indians are still leading the way. Those numbers, the first half of June this year. Now, the Tourism and Sports Minister, speaking about these numbers yesterday, says that they expect the number of foreign visitors to Thailand to rise from 20 to 25,000 a day to 25 to 30,000 immediately after the removal of the Thailand Pass, so we're talking about during July. And then they are expecting it to hit up to 50,000 per day in October. Now, I did some quick numbers. if they get to 15,000 a day in October, and they keep that going for the rest of the year, that 50,000 reverts to around about 1.5 million a month, and that is just under half what the original tourist numbers used to be in Thailand pre-COVID. So 2019 there was an average of 3.3 million tourists per month. So the tourism minister thinking that we'll get back to just under half of that number by the end of the year. So I believe that he's being optimistic, and that no matter what Thailand does, no matter how they market themselves, if they hand out cash on the street, no matter how much they make things welcome for tourists, getting rid of two-tier pricing, whatever the things that you don't like about Thailand, if they got rid of those things, I think there are still a lot of challenges for international travel at the moment that will impact on Thailand, no matter what Thailand does. So anyway, those comments from the minister. Anyway, that's all the sort of the hard news that I've got for today. So I thought now we might just get to your comments and your questions. So I'll just get myself a little bit comfortable here, and don't know who they're. That's not the usual guy, by the way. That's somebody else. So let's go to your comments and questions. See what I can do with my window here to make things a bit easier to read. There we go. Maybe Tim will have his own YouTube channel. Look, I don't really want to be unprofessional and discuss too much about what I'm doing about when I leave the Thaiger. I do finish at the Thaiger at the end of July. It's been a wonderful 6 years, and it's now it's now time for my journey to take a different route on the road, to split off and to go on a different journey. And the Thaiger has been a wonderful journey. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of twists and turns, but it's now my turn to take my own twists and turns. There may be a new YouTube channel, there may be a whole lot of other things I'm doing, but they won't be competing with what happens at the Thaiger. They'll be different things. So yeah, I'm just on a different journey. I'm still fit and well and loving living in this country. The Thaiger's become a much bigger, much more complicated business, and it's grown from sort of that to that in that 6 years, and it's beyond my capabilities and my knowledge to take it where it needs to go next. So we've got some very smart people now coming into the company who'll be taking it off in a different direction. Just remembering that my nattering on YouTube is a very small portion of the entire Thaiger business. So me leaving the YouTube channel really won't make much difference. And you've got people like Jay and Natty and Jet, who are also doing a great job, and they may not do hard news like this every day. Jet, I'm sure, will continue doing Thailand News Today, but there's so much other stuff happening in Thailand and so many other things to talk about, and they'll be bringing that to you in the future. So that's really all I want to say about that. At some stage, hopefully, you'll be able to find out what I'm doing, and I look forward to talking to you sometime in the future. Some people saying Tim loves the sound of his voice far too much to get off YouTube. Was not that this whole presenting to camera has come very late in life, and it's not something that I'm terribly comfortable with, but I think I have become quite knowledgeable about life in Thailand and able to interpret it, despite what the government might say, or the tourism associations, or different people, or even some YouTubers. I usually try and bring you the way I see things, and probably cutting to the bottom line in many cases. So I think that's a valuable thing that I can do. I've got those 6 years here at Thaiger and some 11 and a half years living here in Thailand, and I look forward to bringing that information and that experience to you in some form in the future. What happened to Dr. Fauci? Says Kev O. Well, I think he got COVID. I hope he's okay. I haven't heard anything to the contrary, but after a couple of years, I'm sure they've He's been vaccinated, and also the standard of care and the standard of knowledge about COVID has increased so much that even somebody of his advanced years will be well looked after. And he's just got indispensable experience and knowledge, reaching all the way back to things like HIV when that happened in the early 80s. So he's a very valuable asset to the people of the United States. Okay, let's go to some of your questions. I better go to the comments from the members first. Hans, Dr. Fauci is a world-recognised subject matter expert. He's still there providing great advice. Okay, what else? 212 Roger. I usually fly EVA, but Taipei probably not doable. I think a lot of people are talking about how to get around the expensive flights that are suddenly sort of showing up. Now, I think because in the Northern Hemisphere we're moving into the summer, that the cost of flights usually goes up this time of the year anyway. Now, the prices will go up for airfares, for sure, but I think part of this is sort of the summer holiday syndrome. It happens here, flights, people coming in December and January, it gets very, very expensive. So I think some of the expensive flights at the moment are something to do with those summer flight costs for the Northern Hemisphere. But it will be really interesting to hear your ways of getting around some of the expensive airfares. It is difficult to get, say, from the United States to Thailand at the moment. You have to go via South Korea, Seoul, Taipei, Hong Kong. Can you go via Hong Kong at the moment? So it'd be interesting to know how you're getting here, or you go the other way and you go through one of the Emirates countries. And they've always got plenty of flights, and they're still flying both directly to Phuket and Suvarnabhumi every day, most of those airlines. So yeah, I'm interested to know how you are getting to Thailand at the moment during these rise in prices. So good morning from Nong Waso. Nongwuso? Sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce that name. Where is it? I'd like to know. Okay. I may be travelling back to Hawaii for a visit. The airfare has not changed. Just checked it today. Oh, Kioni Nuens. Now, I met you yesterday, and thank you for coming to say hello to me. Kioni Nunes? You told me how to pronounce your name and I've forgotten it already. But it was lovely to meet you, resident of Hawaii, and it was so nice because I know that you've contributed to our forums for a long time. So thanks for coming to say hello. Where was I? Was I at, I think I might have been at the Mexican place at Terminal 21. About 4 or 5 people found me there for some reason. Didn't get a lot of time for my lunch, but I did get to meet some of you, and it was delightful to meet you all. So that happened. Thank you very much. Okay. They also have side effects of oh, Alan, really? Come on, time to move on. Miami Man in Thailand says there are a lot of Indians travelling here now. Yeah, look, as I said, I think the largest number of tourists at the moment are still Indian tourists. Now, to fly from India, from Mumbai, I can't remember what they call all these capitals now, they've changed their names, but there's 3 or 4 main hubs there in India, and they fly to both Phuket and to Bangkok, and it's only like 3.5 to 5 hours flight. So a quick flight, and there's 2 or 3 discount airlines. Very cheap. Very cheap if I want to fly to India as well, which I was going to do this month. But the Thailand Pass was going to provide some challenges for me in regards to my insurance, because I have a work permit and I don't need insurance, and it was just going to be a debacle. So I didn't bother doing it, but I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But I think you're right that the highest number of tourists to Thailand at the moment are Indians, and certainly the plane last night had a lot of Americans and a lot of Indians on it. But just walking around Bangkok, seeing quite a few Indian tourists, and also here in Phuket. So what I'm seeing seems to tie in with those numbers I was speaking about a little bit earlier. Now, where was I going to go in India? I have a movie that I loved watching years ago, which was called The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. If you haven't seen it, and you sort of like a nice light bit of easy, comfortable, entertaining viewing on TV, then The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel comes with my warmest recommendation. I think at the moment it's on Disney Hotstar. If you're on the Disney Hotstar platform, I'm sure you can probably find it in other corners of the internet. But it was filmed at a hotel up in Rajasthan. So I was going to go to India and spend 2 weeks there, contemplating, for example, what I was going to be doing in my time after the Thaiger. So I was actually going to go and stay in the actual hotel they filmed The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Anyway, go and have a look at that movie if you haven't seen it, because if you're around my age, I'm sure you'll actually enjoy it quite a lot. Okay, let's get to some more of your comments. Something about the Thaiger there, it just passed by. Is Tim leaving the Thaiger? Yes, Richard, I'm leaving the Thaiger at the end of July. But believe me, I'm leaving it in very good hands, and I will remain probably the largest single individual shareholder. So I'm leaving the Thaiger in good hands, and some much smarter, much better people than me who will be running the business from now on, taking it in some exciting and different directions. But that's the way you run a modern business this day. You don't keep on doing what you were doing yesterday. You look to the future and seeing what you can do to make it even better. So what else have we got? 212 Roger, I hope it rained hard in Chiang Mai. No rain here in California for years. Love the rain. Well, 212 Roger, if you come to Thailand at the moment, it is the wet season, and in most parts of the country you are likely to see some rain every couple of days. It might be a huge downpour, it might be a light sprinkle, but it will clear up very quickly. I've very rarely seen days of just constant rain. That is very, very rare in Thailand. Mr. Mike says, San Francisco to Phuket round trip pre-COVID, during the high season, $600. Now it's $1,200 on Korean Air. So, Mr. Mike, I suppose the question would be, this time of the year, pre-COVID, did the prices spike during the summer surge? What is that something that would have happened anyway? So yeah, interesting to hear people's comments on these prices, but certainly at the moment, it looks like that price has increased. That would be coming to Thailand from San Francisco via Seoul in South Korea. That's a shame. He's the best one at the Thaiger. No, I'm not the best at the Thaiger by no means. Look, I certainly have a bit of a news bias, and I have a lot of news knowledge, and I've got, I suppose, an opinion that is expressed from time to time. But there's plenty of other voices at the Thaiger, and there's plenty of new voices on the way that will also be talking about different things. You can be assured that you'll still find a lot about life in Thailand at the Thaiger. I don't have to be there for all that information to still be passed on. Chiang Rai Rules. Chris Clough says, talk to me. Me? Talk to you? I'm talking to you. Chiang Rai Rules. Yeah, for those people that haven't been to Thailand before, or maybe just come here and gone to a couple of soys in Pattaya for a few weeks, or come to Phuket and just gone down to Patong, there's parts of Thailand you still really need to see, and there's a lot of the country that I think remains undiscovered for tourists, and I can certainly recommend that if you get the opportunity to come here, you should certainly spend some time up in the north, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai. The road trip between Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai is worth it just in itself. I did some hiking north of Chiang Mai. We drove about 3 hours north of Chiang Mai up through Pai, which is a funny little town in itself, and then we were doing hiking for about a week up around the Myanmar border. and they were saying, now be careful, don't go over that field because you'll be in Myanmar and they could shoot you there. Okay, so we didn't go there. But that was a really interesting, beautiful part of the world, right up in the mountains of Chiang Mai and northern Thailand. Thank you, Keone. Tim is a very good presenter. Losing his voice a bit today. I've had a really nasty cold this week. Not COVID, I checked. I've had like a sinus on this side of the head, and I thought, oh gee, flying back to Phuket's going to be horrid. But it wasn't too bad. It seemed to be reducing, but I've had this congestion in my head. I'm sure you can probably hear it in my voice, and it's been a bit of a, well, just slightly uncomfortable week. I haven't had any time off, but just hoping it passes. I think I'll probably head down to the local clinic and get some antibiotics just to knock it on the head. It's been just a bit the last couple of days. So apologies about my voice if it's sounded a bit stuffy. PG Santa, the airlines issue are primarily about fuel prices combined with cutbacks on routes. Most airlines are running way fewer flights for all routes, so fewer seats means higher prices. Now let me tell you, Thai Vietjet have somehow survived better than, in much better shape than all the other airlines here in Thailand. I don't know why that is. They've certainly been able to fill their aircraft much more reliably than some of the other flights I have taken. And I noted the last 2 or 3 times I've travelled, every single seat was full, all the way to the front of the aircraft. So congratulations to that particular airline, the way that they're filling their planes. Obviously they're running the place fairly frugally, and they're getting through the worst of this COVID as we sort of emerge into a new travel paradigm. So did I miss any updates on the digital nomad visa? There's no such thing as a digital nomad visa in Thailand at the moment. However, there has been some announcements about 10-year visas in Thailand. And there was quite a long article about that you can read at thetiger.com. So it was only published yesterday, so it'll be quite easy to find. If you go into the search area and just type in 10-year visa, it's an article that was written yesterday by Will. And I'm sure you'll see a lot of information about new visas that are coming around. They're called 10-year visas. There's 4 or 5 different forms of that. Most of them have got a price tag attached to them. Some of them require certain skills and qualifications, but I won't go through all those. It's probably a show all on its own. But there's no such thing per se as a digital nomad visa. But let me say, Andreas, that I think the smartest thing the Thai government could do is introduce a yearly digital nomad visa and call it the digital nomad visa. Don't hide behind some fancy name. I think it would be a really interesting visa and a very popular visa for people to come to Thailand with the opportunity of working remotely. So let's hope that's going to happen. Tim's gonna open a weed cafe, says Genghis Khan Tay. No, he's not. That will never, ever happen. Nor will you see me in any of those particular establishments. Never in a million years. Are there any greenery shops in Pattaya? I have no idea. But there's probably hundreds of YouTubers who operate out of Pattaya who'll be able to give you that information. I know there's certainly some in Bangkok. We had guests coming into the studio yesterday who brought packets about that size, that's my iPhone cover, full of the greenery, and they bought it on the way into speaking on the Thaiger yesterday. So I think they paid about 1,500 baht, and it was pretty full. So I don't know much about that particular topic except the legislation. I do know a lot about that because I've been reading up about it for 40 years around the world, and of course recently in Thailand. And to say the least, there are a lot of black holes that need to be filled in regards to the legislation. people running around. I even watched a YouTuber this morning saying that the greenery is now legal in Thailand and you can buy it freely, and it's illegal and you can smoke it recreationally, and thinking there's a lot of twilight zone that we have to travel through until the Parliament sits and actually determines the regulations pertaining to this new decriminalisation and apparent legalisation on some aspects of the green plant. But as I've said 1,000 times, and I'll say it again, if you think that the Conservative government that's running the country of Thailand, the Kingdom of Thailand at the moment, in any way is going to liberalise that particular product to the point where you can recreationally smoke it, from a parliamentary point of view, you're sadly mistaken. But of course, a much more adult and nuanced regulation of the rules, I think, is a good move for Thailand, and let's hope that there is some legislation put forth that gives an opportunity for a commercial growing of the product, for people who want to grow it recreationally, privately. Maybe that should also be legislated. But that hasn't really hit the Parliament yet. So we are still in this twilight zone, and a lot of people interpreting the rules the way that they want to. But as I've also said, the people who want to smoke that drug recreationally will do so, no matter what the Parliament says, and no matter what regulations are there or no regulations, they will continue to smoke it. Okay, True Blue Tie. Regarding the face masks, I listened to that WCSA in Thai and English, and that was a hell of a way to tell people that you are not required to wear a face mask, as it's not law. It was a fussy request. Yeah, True Blue Tie, if you watched, well, yeah, we watched it and we were translating it, and we watched it in Thai and then we watched it in English, and we sort of walked away saying, well, gee, are you required to wear a face mask or not? It was a very long, turgid discussion. The bottom line is, after July the 1st, people are not going to be required. It's going to be encouraged, but not enforced. There was a whole lot of words and euphemisms used, but I think the bottom line is, after June the 1st, you'll be able to walk around Thailand, certainly in open areas, and not feel any requirement or need by the people around you, or even legally, to wear a face mask. Has it been a legal requirement over the past 2 and a bit years? Well, under the emergency decree, sort of. Although it's never been passed into law through the Thai Parliament. That was acknowledged by Anaton and by us in the middle of last year. But certainly most Thais, certainly in places like the business districts, universally have been wearing their face masks. And even yesterday, I was walking around and I took some video of it, which we showed on Good Morning Thailand yesterday, people still wearing their face masks. I would say, though, over the next 12 months, we're going to see a lot less people wearing their face masks. And that's obviously a good thing. And you, as a foreigner, will be able to come here and walk around outside and not wear a face mask. That's sort of the bottom line, the way that we interpreted it. But probably more to come about that and the details before July the 1st. Genghis Kante says smart people will cash in early on greenery shops before they tighten up the regulations and the market gets overflooded. You're probably right. I don't really need to talk much more about that, because we are in an absolute twilight zone between that June the 9th announcement and when the Thai Parliament sit down and work out some regulations. For now, it's the wild, wild west. Tech symbol, we will miss you, Tim. I'll turn up somewhere else, don't you worry about that. Maybe Tim just wants to do something different. Absolutely. The Thaiger has become, for me, a real pressure cooker. It's a very different business from the one that I founded back in 2016. In those days, it was just me and Kun Num and a couple of remote DJs. We had a radio station. And now it's a much more complex, much busier business, much bigger businesses, and there's investors, and There's new e-commerce that's being started. Now, things that I'm not good at and I'm not qualified to run. So the business is being left to much smarter, younger, clever, skilled people to take the Thaiger to this next level. Hey Tim, I'm starting an edutainment venture. Want to join? Drumkiller, you can send me an email, tim@thethaiger.com, and I'll respond accordingly. And I agree with your views, Tim, says Tech Symbol. Well, look, I mean, doing YouTube for the past 2 years, I understand that most people will disagree with me and my views. We try and have a broad church when it comes to views and allow people to have theirs. We won't allow people, and I hope they don't allow them in the future, just to boldly say facts that clearly are not true and are demonstrably not true or are dangerous. But as regarding opinions, we're very happy for people to voice their opinions. We prefer that people don't attack people individually. I think that's cheap. We don't necessarily do that ourselves. Sometimes I do it with a bit of a smile and a nod and a wink, but really we prefer people just to air their views in a civil sort of manner. That's my age speaking, I think, there. Keep us informed, Tim. Well, I will, and the Thaiger will, of course, in the future. Where did the sea go from yesterday? Yeah, we had a person who came in, as I said, with a sachet of green stuff, and would have had a fine old night last night. Alex and Paul, Dr. Paul Cross here. Gravitas, Wisdom and Experience got I think, a little bit of those, but not much. I've just been going around the sun a few more times than a lot of other people, and I've been lucky to experience a lot of life here in Thailand, and I've learned, I think, to sort of see through what the government say, what actually happens, and what they mean, and understand the nuances of the mood of the meeting, as I call it. So I think that's the sort of experience that I've been able to bring in the future. 47 baht in non-Wai Thailand. 47 baht. Oh, that's a cost of something, I figure. All right, so Tim, an airship pilot, an opinion for you now. Tim, an airship pilot. No, I won't be an airship pilot. We talked about these new Airlander airships yesterday, and we were pondering whether they might have some use here in Thailand. Quite different airships from the Zeppelins and the blimps that we've seen, like the Goodyear blimp over the past, 100 years or so. But very different, and they don't go that fast, but they have a lot of wow factor and incredible views and big windows. And I thought, yeah, if a company gets some of those happening in Thailand, they could do quite well, but not something I'll be investing in. Aaron says, Fauci is the co-creator of COVID. So Aaron, just telling here, remove and hide user from channel. Goodbye, Aaron. See you later. Genghis Kante, you haven't seen a Thai flip-flop in reaction to the people's responses. Okay, missing on that one. Probably just about time to say goodbye, by the way. So Tim's going to Crypto School 101, Genghis Khan. So I've never been into crypto. I haven't bought in at any stage or any level. However, I do see, actually subscribe to a couple of channels that talk about different financial issues around the world, and watch 3 or 4 podcasts a day. So I've noted, of course, that there's been a big change in the crypto market, and I acknowledge that a lot of people have lost a lot of money. Crypto people like to tell you about when they're making money, not so much when they're losing money. But from my point of view, I'm not exactly sure what you're investing in with crypto, except you're investing in hope and greed, and there's nothing else. I understand what the blockchain does and how it works, but if everything goes to shit with crypto, I'm left holding what? Nothing. What did I buy into? hope and greed. Tim will have his float at the gay Mardi Gras, says Nong Waso. No, I won't have my own float at the gay Mardi Gras. If you're talking about the one in Sydney, I've actually attended it a couple of times as a spectator, and what a spectacle it is. If you're in Australia during February, if you get up to Sydney and you're able to see the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras, it's a bit of an eye-opener, and it's a bit of a feast for the eyes in regards to the whole spectacle and the loudness and the noise, and probably a very positive vibe. I shan't be having a parade at any Mardi Gras. Hans Schellberg says, I hear crypto is the future. A lot of people saying that. Not quite so loudly as they were in the past. Don't buy the dip. I'm out of the markets. More pain to follow, says 212 Roger. Thank you for your contribution today. And with that, Tim is in the works on his own OnlyFans channel. Mango sticky rice. Damn it. You got it in one. So yes, I'll be telling you more about my OnlyFans channel in the future. I will get exactly 0 subscribers. Maybe 1. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us today, all the way from Phuket. Hope your day is going to be utterly fantastic. And no matter where you are in the world, it might be breakfast time, it might be lunchtime, you might be sitting down ready to go to bed, but it's been great to have you with us over the past hour, talking about some of the big changes with the Thailand Pass yesterday. From July the 1st, it's going to be a lot easier to get to Thailand. The problem is that things beyond the Thai government's control may be another challenge for people over, say, the next 3 to 6 months, maybe even a couple of years. But we'll be watching that in detail on the Thaiger. So from all of us here at Dean and DeLuca in Phuket, thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.